wherever we have the amount in the account, in which bank we have, through that bank only I can make the payment here. So it is called as a specified bank here. In 1928, the check was in this format, and 1941 and 1968, this is the format what we had checks in the market. Payment to certain person or to the bearer means it will be paid to the same person or the person who presents the check. For them, the payment will be made here. Warm welcome to 5th Sem BBA students. We are discussing the subject banking law and practice, and we are into the third unit, paying banker. In the first unit, we have discussed about bank, banker, customer, banker and customer relationships. And in the second unit, we have discussed about collecting banker and statutory protection to the collecting banker. Today, we are going to discuss paying banker and statutory protection for the paying banker. I am Professor Rajesh L.R. from Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Today's agenda is very simple, that we are going to discuss about the paying banker meaning, precautions, statutory protection, checks, different forms of checks. Earlier, how the checks were there, and now what type of checks we have, and who are the parties of a check, features of check, what is an endorsement, and what are the circumstances of dishonor of a check. These concepts we are going to discuss here, and the question they may ask for 10 marks, and here it is 2 marks question, features and all. This is 2 marks, and this is for 15 marks or 10 marks question. They're going to ask you people in the examination. So go through the unit properly and understand the concept, what we are saying, and what are the information are there. You just follow the information, whatever we're given here, you can clear your paper easily. The first part, we're going to take here meaning of a paying banker. See, in modern banking, many aspects and the range of activities of clearing banks today is very broad, and the payment and the processing of checks are still central and fundamental feature. They're saying that when, even though there are changes has taken place, the concept is the same what we had in the earlier. The paying banker refers to the banker who holds the checks of the drawer and is obliged to make payment if the funds of the customer are sufficient to cover the amount of his check drawn. They're saying that when the paying banker duty is that when the check, whatever the given by the drawer, see, he has written here 5 lakh, he has to check that on whether the 5 lakhs is there in the customer account or not, the first duty of the paying banker. And then he has to check that on whether the funds can be cleared or not. So then only he has to make the payment for the corresponding check, whatever he has received from the drawer. So now, the paying banker is a banker who cancels the signature of the drawer on payment of the check, either by the usual means of authorizing the drawer's signature. They're saying that when here the party will be signed, the drawer has signed on the check here, the check signature will be cancelled here, stating that when it has been verified and it is perfect. If the check signature is not crossed, that we are not cancelled, it shows that when there is a small mistake or changes are there in the signature which is not matching according to the documents, whatever it is there with the paying banker. Precautions. So the first duty of the paying banker to check that one, the check whatever he has received is 2 types of checks are there. So if it is a crossed check or open check, he has to see that one. So if it is a crossed check, so then he has to see what type of crossing they have made there. And then he has to verify thoroughly, and then he has to make the payment for the person who has presented the check for the payment. Next one, he has to see the open check, whether the open check has been issued by the drawer to the right person or not. So before making any payment to the person who has presented for the payment in the bank and where he is going to collect the amount on the counter, so before making any payment, they have to verify the name of the person, whether it is self or name has been written on the check. If the name has been written on the check, the person who has presented the check, they have to collect the documents or verify the documents of the person who has presented the check. Then only they have to make the payment. There's the first precaution. And second one, the paying banker has to check that one, whether this check belongs to the right customer or not. Whether the customer has issued the check or not, they have to get the information properly. And then they have to verify the signature. Then they have to verify the date. Then they have to verify the amount in words and in numbers. Then they have to check that one. Every part of the verification is completed. Then they have to make the payment. Or if any default things takes place, then the paying banker will be held responsible for the payment whatever is made to the person who has presented the check here. So before making any payment, the precautions has to be taken by the paying banker. He has to check that one, whether the check belongs to the customer or not. Second one, whether the check has been written in the proper form or not. Next one, he has to check the signature is matching or not, whether the amount is matching in words and in numbers, and then he has to check the date, and then he has to check the documents of the person who has presented for the collection of the check amount, and then he has to make the payment. This is a concept what we have. So he has to check proper form, he has to check presentment of check. So whether the check is in the correct format or not, whether the check belongs to the customer or not. Sometimes the banking system, how it makes means, suddenly if they change the checks into new format of checks, if the person presented by the check, it will be in the old format. Before making that payment, they have to check that even though it belongs to the same bank, they have to say that when old format checks are not accepted here. Already we have given the new checks to the customers. If you make the presentation of the new format check, then we are going to make the payment. Without checking that one, if they couldn't verify, and if they make the payment for the old one, and tomorrow if anything happens, the paying banker will be held responsible for the payment whatever they are made. Whatever the claims will be made by the customer, the damages, the paying banker has to pay for the damages here. Next we have here, date of the check has to be verified thoroughly, whether it is a current date or the previous date or the post date. So if it is current date, there is no problem. If it is a previous date, it should be less than 90 days. If it is above 90 days, they should not make any payment here, because the check is valid only for 90 days period of time, and above 90 days, it cannot be made the payment. So they have to check properly the dates, and then they have to make the payment. Future date means if it is a post dated of 1 month or next 2 months, they can't make the payment. The payment will be made only on the date what they have mentioned on the check. It cannot be made earlier for the payment here. And next one, check the words and the figures properly, the numbers, whether the person has written here 5 lakhs is here, but while writing, he will write 50 lakhs. Some of the banks will not verify the numbers, they'll verify the words. So they will make the payment of 50 lakhs instead of 5 lakhs. So then it is a mistake of the paying banker, because he has not verified properly. Then tomorrow he has to face the consequences. Precautions of paying banker in the alteration and overwriting. Whether the check has been overwritten or whether they have made any alteration. If any alteration is there, they have to make stop payment of the check. They should not make the payment of the check. Then they have to verify and they have to inform the drawer, there's a thing, it has happened, whether you have issued the check or not, because after the alteration there is no signature. So whenever the customer, the drawer of the check, makes any alteration or overwrites, he has to make full signature below to that one or next to that one. Then only the payment should be made by the paying banker to the person who has presented the check here, or else he has to face the problem here. Next, whether there is a proper endorsement of the check or is made it in a legal format or not, they have to check that one. Whether, like for example, the check as written here, clearly that one, it has to be paid to Ram. So whether endorsement has been made properly or not, or sometimes they'll write it here in the check self, backside of the check, they'll say that when the drawer of the check has signed here and it has been given to a third party, the third party is going to present the check for the collection. in the bank, in the counter, where he is going to collect the amount. Before making any payment, the counter people have to verify the check, then they have to make, and even they have to verify the documents of the person who has presented, and they have to get the signature here, the person who is collecting the amount, then they have to make the payment for the person who has presented the check. Statutory protection, whatever, the payment must be made to the right person. They're saying the person who is going to present the check, they have to verify whether the same person is collecting the amount or not. Next one, the banker might not be able to make detailed inquiry before making the payment. So whenever the person who presents the check for the collection, they can't make in-depth inquiry based on the norms of the banking concept here. They'll make a small inquiry and a little bit information, or whichever is major it is required, they'll make. The documents will be verified. What we say, just collect the documents from the person who is presenting the check. In case if anything happens, it can be cross-verified and it can be take action on the person whom they have to make a proper legal procedure has to be followed. Like for example, a person is not a proper person, has collected the amount, so we don't know that one who has collected that. At least if we have some documents with us, so we can verify, even though in some of the cases the documents are submitted by him, it may be duplicate, but we at least if we have, so a little bit we are safer side that one. So we at least we have collected some documents from the person who presented the check for the collection of the amount here. If it's a huge amount, then it is a duty of the paying banker to collect the information properly, and they have to check that one, whether the open check has been given or not, whether we have to make the payment for this person or not. Everything has to be verified, then they have to make the payment, or else tomorrow the paying banker will be held responsible for the consequences. So protection regarding the check, whether it is a regular endorsement, payment in due course, protection in case of bearer checks, protection in case of crossed check, protection in case of all obligatory, protection in case of draft. So the protection will be given to the banker regarding of the check. It may be a regular endorsement or payment in due course, that is nothing but older in due course, where the amount will be collected in future, or whether it is a crossing, general crossing or special crossing. So based on that, the protection will be there for the banker. 99%, don't make any payment for the open check. If it is a huge amount, say them to make the payment only through the cross check, because the amount will be transferred from the drawer account to the person who is going to present the drawer's account. So there will be at least a grip will be there to verify for whom they are paid, and they can take a legal action if he is not a right person. So next we have here meaning of check. A check is nothing but, I was saying for you people, check here, a check is a negotiable instrument. According to Act of 1881, it is at norms where we are for the making the payment here, we are using a negotiable instrument, which is nothing but a check, and for the purpose of making the payment here and not for other purposes. In 1723, the check was in this format, and in 1928, the check was in this format, and 1941 and 1968, this is the format what we had checks in the market. So how it was there and what were they writing? See, they were writing the name of the person and for whom the amount has to be paid, and the date was written properly here, and what is the amount in the words, and it has to be transferred to the account. They have written here, it has been signed here and clearly mentioned what they have to do for the payment of the amount. And see here, clearly it is mentioned here, the check number is there, date is there, signature. See, after making the payment, they have to cancel the signature and even the check. It shows that when the amount has been paid to the right person or the payment has been made. See here, cancelled on behalf of, added a information, and because it was not given for the right person here, it was cancelled. So there is a thing, and here the payment is made. Like this, we have to verify and we have to make the payment by the paying banker. Parties of a check. there are three parties are there: drawer, drawee, and payee. Drawer, the person who gives the order, is saying that when the amount has to be paid, means I'm going to making an order for the making of payment here. Drawee, the financial institution upon whom the check is drawn. Pay, the person or organization named to receive the payment here. So like this, we have three parties are there for every negotiable instrument what we are going to write or present here. Features of a check. Check is an instrument in written. So they're saying that one, this will be for 10 marks question. Write the features of a check. So the first one you can write, it is an instrument in writing. It is an unconditional order, because sometimes it will be self, or sometimes the name of the party will be written. Either it may be general crossed or special crossing checks will be given. Check is drawn on a specified banker. So it is like that. It be made to make the payment only where I have the account. Where I don't have the account, I can't say those people to make the payment for on behalf of me to this party. So wherever we have the amount in the account, in which bank we have, through that bank only I can make the payment here. So it is called as a specified bank here. And check must be signed by the customer. The drawer has to sign the check, then only the payment will be made here. It is only payable on demand. That to present the check for the bank, then only the bank is going to make the payment. It is not like that. I've written a check and a check has been drawn self for 10,000. Here I've written a self here 10,000 only, and I've signed. And if I keep it in my drawer, the banker will not get my customer is waiting to get the 10,000 money and I has already written a check. You can't get that one in the dreams, or you can't assume and make the payment for you. The check has to be presented for the collection of the amount. Then only you're going to get the amount here. Certain sum of money. So whatever the amount has been written in the figures as well as in the words, that amount will be paid, payable to certain person or to the payer. Means it will be paid to the same person or the person who presents the check. For them, the payment will be made here. Checks must be duly dated by the customer of bank. So they're saying that when the date should be proper here. If the date is not written, so the payment cannot be made here. And for all the checks, it is 90 days only. Before 90 days, I have to encash the checks, or else there will be no value for the check, whatever we have with us. And that's the reason we should not write the date on the check, or we should not write and receive the dates on the checks when we are giving a debt to a third party. Next, we have your types of checks. We have your open check, bearer check, order check, crossed checks. We have your general crossing, special crossing, and double crossing. So these are the checks. For it will be for 2 marks question. Open check, it is a bearer check. Order check. Order is nothing but I'm writing the name of the party. Bearer is a self check, and general crossing will be crossing like this, and special crossing, account payee only. Account payee only. Double crossing, where we're going to mention with the name of the bank clearly where it has to be paid here. Open check. Open check, already said, the bearer check is the one which is issued without the name of the payee. Means I'll write it as a self here, and I'll not write the name of the party. Order check, where I'm going to write the name of the party. Crossed check, a check which has been crossed properly and which will be mentioned here. As we have, this is general crossing. It will be normal crossing, or we'll write and company, account payee, and not negotiable. This is general crossing. Special crossing, we're going to mention the State Bank of India, account payee, State Bank of India, not negotiable. This is where if I mention with the name of the bank, it is a special crossing. If I've only written the concept here, and company or account payee or not negotiable, this is the general crossing what we have here. So account payee crossing or restricted crossing is the main concept should be there on the checks. Then only we're going to have the concept here. General crossing, according to section 123, they're saying that one for all the checks, whatever we are going to present here, either it should be 2 lines, 2 parallel lines as to be written, or we have to write account payee only. Special crossing, it should be like where two parallel lines and mention the name of the bank, that is SBI or Axis Bank or whatever it is that one you want to mention there. Section 126 of the Act says that where the check is crossed, especially the banker on whom it is drawn shall not pay to otherwise than to the banker to it is crossed or to his agent for the collection. It cannot be paid for the collection. The person who's coming for the presentation of the payment for the amount whatever has been mentioned in the check, it will be transferred only to the corresponding bank only and not for the third party. This is the information what we have. Double crossing is a form of special crossing of check under which two collecting bankers' name is mentioned between the two parallel lines. They're going to say that one, this is the parallel lines, State Bank, and they will mention Punjab National Bank. Like this, they're going to mention the two names of the bank. So then only the payment will be made only for the present Drawers Bank and the Drawers Bank here. This is the format what we have for general crossing as well as for special crossing. What is endorsement? Endorsement is nothing but where a check, open check has been given and you are written as a self here, I have signed in the check, and the back side of the check will be signed and will be sent for the collection to a third party. The check will be given where the third party is going to present the check in the bank, in the counter of the bank to collect the amount. So this is called endorsement. There will be blank endorsement. They'll not write the name of the person on the back side or in the front. So that's called blank endorsement. Full endorsement means, so they're going to say that one, the amount, whatever has been mentioned here in the check, pay that full amount. And next one, restrictive endorsement, pay only a certain amount. And conditional endorsement, you have to make the payment only whatever it has been written, and will be clearly instruction will be given. Out of 5,000, 2,000 has to be paid and 3,000 has to be transferred to RD account or any other account what they are maintaining here. Signed recourse endorsement, where it will be given for the three parties. San Francisco endorsement, facultative endorsement is the thing that these are the different endorsement what we have here, where in this any one type of endorsement, the concept of negotiable instruments will be used for the benefit. It will be written, and if it is not paid by the person on time, the paying banker will be responsible here. So before making any endorsement, either for bills of exchange or for the check, it should be careful whether it is a San Fran. So if the person has not paid, the drawer will be held responsible for the payment made by the bank on behalf of the presentation. Dishonor of a check. This is a compulsory question for 15 marks. So go through this one and understand properly and write here. See what are the circumstances we have. Dishonor means for certain reasons the check has been not paid. The paying banker has not paid the amount for the check which was presented. Why they have not paid the amount on the presentation of the check? Because insufficiency of funds, notice of the customer's death, notice of the customer's insolvency, when they receive a garnishee order, notice of assignment for not to make the payment, if it is a trust account, whether all the trust members, authorized members have signed or not, whether it has been signed but it is not sealed, means president, secretary, treasurer seal, it should be there, and all the three parties have to sign, then only the payment has to be made here. Suspicious about the title over the check, we have to check that one, whether the check presented by the party is in the proper form, whether it is a right person or not. If they're getting any doubt, they should not make any payment here. They have to verify the drawer signature. If it is not matching, they should not make the payment here. Presentation of a check of post-dated, or they have manipulated the date, they should not make the payment. Material alteration, that is nothing but amount in words and figures, it should be there. If that made any differences in those things, they should not make the payment. Joint account, both the joint account holders have to sign the check. If any one person has signed and if other person has not signed, they should not make the payment here. Already I said the difference between words and figures and endorsement is proper or not, proper form of the check. drawn on another branch. Like for example, I'm presenting a check in the Siddhartha layout where the check was drawn for the Vijayanagar. Earlier it was like that. Now it can be made the payment if presented by the genuine person and it is a genuine customer's account. If it is a, they can collect the amount here. So there are two types of dishonor, rightful dishonor and wrongful dishonor. Rightful is nothing but for the points whatever I've mentioned there, for that reason the check is dishonor, that is rightful. Wrongful dishonor, while the carelessness of the bank employee, the check was dishonor. Instead of checking the account number, like for example, in the check, the name of the person is Ram and they checked the Ram account. There were 3 Ram were there with the same name, Ram, and the account was 1005007, 1000707, 1005002. The check was presented for Ram 10007, but suddenly they couldn't recognize the 7 year. They checked the Ram 1000502 and they have dishonored the check because there was no funds in this account, but actually in this account there was funds here. In this case, the banker, the paying banker will be held responsible for the damages faced by the drawer in the society. If he claims that one, the amount of damages, the banker has to make the payment for the mistake whatever he has done by the employees of the bank here. Thank you to all my 5th sem BBA students. In today's session, we learned about paying banker and the features of a check, types of a check, parties of a check, and the circumstances for dishonor of a check here. So go through this one. You're going to understand the concept easily and write it in your semester examination. Thank you and namaste to all 5th sem BBA students.